right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, Samson Dauda did a guest posing today in Europe at the Euro Muscle Show. And this weekend marks the 13-week out point from the 2025 Mr. Olympia, where Samson will be the defending champion. And watching this guest posing and looking at some of the pictures from it, one of the things that always impresses me about Samson, particularly in the off-season, even though now we're 13 weeks out, I don't know how much you would really call it the off-season, but far away from the stage, is we know how big Samson is. He's probably over 320 pounds. Maybe he's even still around 330 in this guest posing. But the fact that he always looks so aesthetically pleasing whenever you see him, whether he's competing or whether he's doing a guest posing at 13 weeks out, you know how big he is. And you still see him pulling a vacuum pose. He's very, like I said, just aesthetically pleasing. And William Bonac was also at this guest posing. And you can see the difference in their structure when you see them next to each other. Even though Bonac competed extremely recently, I feel like your eyes are still drawn to Samson. And I also felt like Samson looked like he was in pretty good shape for 13 weeks out. And I saw somebody comment this on one of the posts. I would also like to see this happen. I saw somebody say they would like to see Samson do kind of a warm-up show like he did last year before the Olympia, the Tsunami Pro in France, which was like a week or two before the Olympia. I kind of wonder if Samson has something like that up his sleeve this year. Because after the Arnold Classic Ohio, when he lost to Derek, we haven't seen him back on stage again, other than the multitude of guest posings that he's done all over the world since then. But typically, Samson competes several times in any given year, whether it's several times before the Olympia, maybe several times after the Olympia. And maybe this year could be the exception because this is his first year as a reigning defending Mr. Olympia. But looking at how much he's been traveling and looking at how many guest posings he's been doing and how many appearances he's done, I kind of wonder if he does have a show planned before the Olympia to, like I said, warm-up show, build some momentum. Based on how active he's been as Mr. Olympia, doing all these guest posings, it really wouldn't surprise me if we see him on stage before the Olympia. And, of course, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to qualify. He doesn't need the prize money from what will probably be a $15,000 win at one of these shows before the Olympia. But I just get the impression that Samson likes to get out there. He likes to be on stage. He likes to do it for the fans. And I just kind of have a feeling that we might see him on stage even before the Olympia. But I like what we're seeing in this guest posing itself. I think Samson looks pretty good for 13 weeks out. He looks pretty lean for 13 weeks out. And like I said, my eyes are just drawn to how aesthetically pleasing he is in this. And I am super curious to see what happens at this year's Mr. Olympia. I've talked about this a lot, but the fact that the Olympia title has changed hands so much in the last 6-7 years, I kind of expect somebody new to win this year. But of the guys that have won it recently, I feel like if somebody is going to hold on to it, Samson has the potential to maybe be the guy that gets two, since the first guy to get two since Big Ramy. He just stands out so much, and he's so imposing on stage, even though he's not the most conditioned guy. He's a very unique physique to be the standard for the Olympia title, and I'm curious to see if he will win again this year or if somebody could challenge him. Now, it brings me to the next story. One of the guys that I think is in line to be a challenger for the title this year, Nick Walker, posted an update today. He also posted several updates yesterday. Again, we're 13 weeks out now. And I'm impressed with Nick's condition here, too, at 13 weeks out. Granted, Nick has competed a lot more recently than Samson Dauda, but for 13 weeks out, he looks like he's really ahead of the curve here. He looks like he's in really good shape. Scrolling through these updates, I do believe he's going to be dangerous at the Olympia this year. And again, I really want to emphasize that if Hadi is not at the Olympia this year, I think that really changes the conversation within that top three. I mean, primarily because Hadi has been in the top 3 for the last, the better part of the last half a decade. And so if Hadi's not there, that does open up a spot in that top 3 right off the bat. And I think that's where you start to make a real case for Nick moving into that top 3. And also, if Hadi's not there, Hadi would probably have been the most conditioned guy in that top 3. And he was second last year, by the way. So if Hadi's not there to stand next to Samson and really expose maybe his lack of condition, because Hadi will be the most conditioned guy to compare Samson to, maybe that puts Samson in a better light. Although maybe not, because Hadi was not at the Arnold Classic where Derek beat Samson. But I think there is a really strong case for Nick cracking that top 3. However, Hadi did post 3 days ago. So in between the 3 days and now, he still posted a lot of stuff, very pro-Iranian type stuff. But he did post 3 days ago a video of him training where he ends the caption, so let's go prove it for the 60th time. Then he says, let's go to Mr. Olympia. And he tags the Mr. Olympia in this training video. So maybe he still intends to try to compete at the Olympia, but I still think that situation with Iran, I think whether he wants to or not, it's going to be more difficult for him to get here, even if he tries, even if he wants to. The same with Beirut. And I feel like this year is probably the lowest chance that we would see Hadi Chupin make it to the Olympia. We know that he's been able to get his visa in the past, even though he struggled to get it at points, and it's taken up until the last possible minute to get it at points. I think this year will probably be the hardest for him to get that visa, even if he wants to. And that's why I say I think there is a chance that we don't see Hadi at the Olympia this year. And I think that's a really important factor to consider going into the Olympia, because Hadi Chupin was runner-up last year. He is a former Mr. Olympia champion. I think he is one of the biggest factors in this lineup if he does compete. But if he is absent, I feel like that totally shifts that top 3. And like I said, I feel that there's a very real possibility of that this year. I hope he is able to get there and compete. I want to see Hadi on that stage, and Beirut as well. But I do think if we're speculating, you've got to consider that possibility. If Hadi's not there, what would that hypothetically look like in that top 3? And I think Nick would be a guy that would benefit tremendously from that. And I think that maybe Samson would benefit not standing next to Hadi, because Hadi really exposes the conditioning. And it seems kind of like we say this every year, but it is really true. If you look at the Olympia qualified competitor list, it's going to be one of the best Olympias that we've had in a long time. And like I said, it seems like that every year. But if you look at this, how many guys are making their Olympia debut that are really good bodybuilders? And then on top of that, some of the guys that are in here, Brett Wilkins, Samson Dauda, Hadi Chupin, Derek Lunsford, Rafael Brandau, we haven't talked about much at all. But I think he's got top 10 first call-out potential. Martin Fitzwater, Akeem Williams, Brandon Curry, William Bonac, Vitaly Ugonikov, good Vito, making his Olympia debut this year. Could he shake things up and be well within the top 10, potentially first call-out? Andrew Jacked, not the most impressive performance from him at the FIBO show, but he's typically a first call-out guy. I don't know where he's going to land this year, honestly. I think this year could be one of the years where you have one of these newcomers maybe unseat a previous guy like Andrew Jack. Maybe you have a good Vito come in and end up being, a top 5 guy and push Andrew to 6th. Nick Walker back in the mix after missing 2 years in a row. I think Nick is without a doubt, at least in my mind, going to be in that top 6 first call out. Regan Grimes, probably the best Regan that we've ever seen this year. Tonio Burton, probably the best Tonio that we've ever seen this year. Sas Haradi, he's kind of a veteran, but this is probably the best Sas Haradi we've seen this year. Beirut Tabani, who knows if he's actually going to make it, but if he's in there, I think he's top 10. Shailong Shen, who won that China Pro. And, of course, Neckzilla, Rubiel Mosquera. That I think is the big question that a lot of people have. Will Neckzilla be top 10, or will he come in at his all-time best and really do some damage and crack the top 6? And this lineup is going to continue to grow. I mean, even though we don't have a show, we don't have an open show this weekend. Next weekend, you've got Chicago, the Chicago Pro. The weekend after that, you've got the Tampa Pro. Then you've got the Texas Pro. So there's 3 more qualifiers right there. And I believe the next one after that for open would be the Pro Muscle Italy, which is in September. And one of the guys that's still looking to qualify, Quint Beastwood, I saw an update from him the other day, where this posing video here, where he looks extremely impressive. He looks like he's really brought up his lower body. He looks like he's in really good shape. I believe he's doing Texas. I don't know if he's also doing either Chicago or Tampa. But this might be the best that I've seen Quentin look. And I think he's going to be a serious factor. And maybe he actually qualifies for the Olympia, and maybe he does some damage. I think you've got a lineup right now at the Olympia where there's so many wild cards. Not to mention Big Ramy. We've barely talked about Big Ramy. He's been teasing this comeback. And I've actually talked to, I believe, 3 people now that are within Ramy's orbit. And all of them say he's serious about competing at this year's Olympia. So it looks like he might actually be doing it. Ramy is another wild card. Does he find himself in the top 3? You've got all these newcomers. Do they find themselves in the first call-out? The return of Nick Walker, does he shake things up? I think genuinely we're on par to have one of the best Olympias that we've ever seen. And the final story that I have for you guys today, I wanted to share the most recent update on Ronnie Coleman. I did a short video about this yesterday, but I wanted to share it again just to direct you guys. If you want to support Ronnie, you can go to ronniestrong.org, where you can either buy a t-shirt for $35 or you can make a direct donation. And if you buy one of the shirts, 50% of the proceeds will be donated to a sepsis awareness advocacy nonprofit, which is the Sepsis Alliance. I already bought a shirt, made my donation, so if you guys want to support Ronnie and support sepsis awareness, ronniestrong.org. It's going to be linked in the description below. Also, a health update on Ronnie Coleman in addition to the Ronnie Strong Charity Foundation. They say Ronnie's doctors have managed the source of his bloodstream infection and are now treating it directly, an encouraging step forward. He also recently underwent a successful, minimally invasive heart procedure to support his overall quality of life. With these developments, our focus is beginning to shift from critical care to recovery. We're deeply grateful for the unwavering support and positivity that you've shown. Inspired by that strength, we're pledging to help shine a brighter light on the condition that nearly took Ronnie's life, sepsis. For those asking how to help, Ronnie's team has launched Ronnie Strong, an initiative to support his recovery and raise awareness about sepsis. As part of this effort, a portion of the net proceeds from Ronnie Strong will be donated to the Sepsis Alliance, the nation's leading sepsis advocacy nonprofit, to further its mission of saving lives and reducing suffering through education and outreach. Our aim is to turn this difficult chapter into a beacon of hope and information for millions around the world. Learn more at ronniestrong.org and join the movement. Thank you all for standing with Ronnie. With heartfelt thanks, the Coleman family. So I'm going to leave it there. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.